Only 5% of people over 70 can do these 16 things. Are you one of them? Margaret James never thought of herself as exceptional. At 72, she lived alone in a modest brick house on the edge of town, her husband long passed, her children scattered like dandelion seeds in the wind. Most mornings started the same way: black coffee, a crossword, and a slow walk to the mailbox. She liked it that way, slow and steady. But Margaret was not like most people her age. On a cool September morning, a flyer came in the mail from the local health clinic. Only 5% of people over 70 can do these 16 things. Are you one of them? It was bold, red lettered, with a list half covered by a stock photo of a smiling, silver haired man doing push ups. Margaret chuckled. It sounded like one of those silly challenges meant to make people feel bad about getting old. She set it aside, but curiosity gnawed at her. That evening, as she sat watching the sunset bleed across the horizon, she picked up the flyer again. The list of 16 things was simple but demanding. Touch your toes. Do 20 squats. Hold a plank for 1 minute. Run a mile without stopping. Solve a Sudoku puzzle in under 10 minutes. Remember a list of 20 random words. Stand on one leg for 60 seconds. Bake a cake from memory. Lift 20 pounds. Thread a needle in low light. Recite a poem. Paint something recognizable. Recall the names of all U.S. presidents. Dance for 5 minutes without stopping. Identify 10 different bird calls. And finally, tell a story from your youth with perfect clarity. Humph, Margaret muttered. I can do at least half of these. That night she made a list of her own. She began with what she thought were the easy ones. She hadn't run in decades, but she'd kept up her walking routine. She baked all the time, no recipes needed. And she'd been painting ever since her husband gave her a set of oils for their 25th anniversary. As for the story, she had more than she could ever tell, but some of the challenges were trickier. The next morning, she tried the squats. She made it to 10 before her knees cried foul. Not bad, she thought, for someone who used to dread gym class. Planking? 30 seconds in, her arms wobbled like jello, but she held on, gritting her teeth, shaking but determined. She reached the full minute and collapsed on the rug, laughing. She dusted off her old running shoes, bought new laces, and shuffled down to the high school track. The first run was brutal. Margaret made it halfway before she slowed to a walk, but she came back the next day, and the next. Each lap she ran just a little farther, her breathing steadied, her joints adapted. By week 3, she ran a full mile without stopping. A few students watching from the bleachers clapped as she crossed her self-imposed finish line. She smiled, chest heaving, proud as ever. Her neighbor, Lila, a retired school teacher, helped with the trivia challenges. Over tea, they practiced naming presidents, reciting poetry, identifying bird calls from a CD Lila dug out of her attic. This is fun, Lila said, but are you training for something? Just proving a point, Margaret replied. They laughed, but Margaret meant it. Each check mark on the list gave her something she hadn't felt in years. Agency, purpose, a private kind of joy that wasn't measured by age or appearance or other people's expectations. Word spread. At the community center, a few others joined in. George, 80 and built like a rake, wanted to learn the squats. Mabel took up painting again. Soon, Margaret was hosting informal challenge days every Saturday in the park. No one could do all 16 things, but that wasn't the point. Then came the needle. Margaret had always sewn, but her eyes weren't what they used to be. She dimmed the lights one night and sat by the window, hands trembling slightly as she tried to thread the fine eye. She missed, again and again. Her pride smarted, the thread bent, her fingers shook, but she did not quit. On the 12th try, the thread slid through. A tiny victory, but one that mattered. Last on her list was the story. She chose the one that came to her each time she watched the rain fall. The time she and her sister hitchhiked to New Orleans in 1971. They were 19 and reckless, and it had rained all week. They spent their last $5 on beignets and danced in the French Quarter until dawn. Margaret remembered every smell, every word, every tremor of fear and joy and youth. She wrote it down, and when she read it aloud to Lila and the others, they listened like it was a song. When she finally mailed back the clinic's form, with the box checked next to all 16 items, she didn't expect anything. But a month later, she received a certificate. Congratulations, Margaret James. You are in the 5%. She pinned it to her fridge with a magnet shaped like a cat. Then she went for her morning run. Years later, at 91, Margaret's story was featured in a small documentary called The 5%. The filmmakers asked her what the challenge meant to her. She looked at the camera, still upright and smiling, though her voice had softened. "It's not about doing hard things," she said. "It's about remembering you still can." The screen faded to black, but her words lingered, as ageless as the spirit behind them.